Hi, I'm Sharina, aka Sista Shez from SoulcureRadio.com, and I'm giving a short video of my testimony of how I became a Christian. I grew up in a Christian home, so church was the norm for me. I went to Sunday school, I went to main service, and it was kind of the routine from when I was a child. When I reached the age of about 12 or 14, most of the people my age had left Sunday school, and I was left with the young kids. And it was a strange time for me because I'm just starting to find myself, and my friends or relatives at that time who were a bit older than me had all left. So I was just on my own. And I stayed in church, and I think maybe around 15, 16, I started to do Sunday school. And for me at this time, as much as I was in church, I wasn't, or I didn't know God for myself, so I was just going through the motions, so to speak. And then I remember when I was, I think it was 18, I was in a convention service, and I grew up in Kojic, so every year we had convention at a different location, and it just happened to be the year where it was hosted in Bedford. So we had service, and they did the altar call as they always do. And for some reason, something came over me, and in my head, I made that decision that yes, I want to be a Christian. So there's me all, oh, me. I was all crying and everything. I felt so ashamed, afterwards because mum and dad were there. I don't cry in front of mum and dad. But yeah, I did it and gave my heart to the Lord on that service. And from then, it was a journey of self-discovery and really finding out who God was for myself, because as much as I'm in church and as much as I've been brought up in church, there's a difference to knowing God for yourself. So I just finished my A-levels, and I was about to go to university in Nottingham. And I'm still saved by this point, but again, I'm finding my way. So any 18-year-old is getting ready to go out, do the whole clubbing situation, but I was always finding resistance from my dad in particular. He wouldn't let me go out so much, so it was always very hard and very difficult to go out to school socials, let alone a club. But when you're 18, you find a way. So I think my parents gave me that leeway, and I was able to make that decision for myself. So yes, I did go to clubs, and for me, I didn't really enjoy it so much, and it's always an odd one to say, oh, you didn't enjoy clubbing, but yeah, it was kind of, I don't like sticky floors, and sticky floors got on my nerves, and I'm wearing my nice shoes, so yeah, I didn't like it so much. So for me, it wasn't really a big deal. So like I said, turned 18, finished A-levels, I'm going to Nottingham now, and during the time I was doing my A-levels, I met this one friend, and she was my first Christian friend, as I call her. We're still friends to this very day, and she played a big role in my development. So she stayed in Bedford whilst I left to go to Nottingham. And, you're a student, you're a fresher, you do the things that freshers do. You go out and whatever else. But again, I was a bit bored. I don't know if it was because I was who I was with, but yeah, the clubbing scene didn't really take my fancy as such. So I'm a fresher now, I'm studying, and I'm saved, but not really understanding who I am in Christ. So my friend from Bedford, she messages me one day and says, oh, have you found a church? I said, no. And she said, have you looked? I said, no. She goes, don't you think you're better? I said, yes. And it just so happened that very week, I was in town and somebody gave me a tract. So I went home, opened my top drawer and found it, and thought, okay, I'll go to this church and see what it's like. So there I am in my little Corsa driving up Woodborough Road to go find this church, and I was in Radford at the time, so it was a long journey. So I got there and I thought, okay, let's try this. I went to the service and I didn't really enjoy it. It wasn't really for me. It wasn't for me, so I didn't go back again. And I also thought, this is far from where I am. So yeah, I left it, and I thought that would be the end of my church search for now. I went to an ACS social, and I think we were at bowling. Yeah, we were at bowling. So I overheard some girls talking about a church they go to. So I said, oh, what church are you talking about? And they said, oh, it's a church called Lifeline. They meet in the Britannia Hotel. So if you want to come with us, take one of the girls' numbers. I'm not going to be there this week, but if you take somebody's number, they meet up outside of the Vic Centre and you can go with them. So this is me totally out of my comfort zone. Met up with this group of girls. I didn't know who one of them was. Met them at 12:30 outside the Vic Centre and went to this church and loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I've been at that church ever since. Yeah, it was amazing. I really enjoyed it. And I think for me, it was finding other young people my age that was a big part in it. So I started to go to church every week at this church and starting to find out, okay, this is really interesting because I've never seen God in this way before. We had a little group that of our students that would meet and we would get together and pray. And by this point, I'm really inexperienced and I'm with some experienced Christians. That's the way I put it in my head. And they were speaking in tongues and praying hard, hard, hard. And I'm standing there, little old me, like, what? What is going on? I just didn't understand what was going on. And I felt like I'm trying to run a race to catch up with where they were. But, you know, each thing has to work out according to your own pace. So I'm trying to find out from the friends that I was rolling with at that time what they were going on about and how they got to be the way they were. And at the same time, I'm trying to understand or meet God for myself. And whilst I'm at this church, I'm growing not day by day, week by week, you know what I mean? I'm growing and developing, and I made the decision, you know what, I understand this now. I know what I want to do. I know that I want to be committed to Jesus and I want to serve him. And I made that decision to get baptised. So 2007, March time, I got baptised and I haven't looked back. And I've been following Jesus ever since then, and it's been a rewarding path. And I don't know, for me, there wasn't any other option. I've seen what the world has to offer, and I was never content. And I know clubbing is not the only thing the world has to offer, but for me, growing up in a Christian home, I knew what was right and what was kind of expected of me at that time as well. But I realised that this is actually something that I have to do for myself and be comfortable with that decision. So when I made that decision and I got baptised, it was the best decision I made, and I felt so much peace when I went down in the water and came up. It was amazing, and I know that there's more that I'm yet to experience with God, but I won't change it. And I just hope that somebody's encouraged by this testimony, because I always hear that, oh yeah, you grew up in church, it's easy for you, but it's not always easy for you. You may not have that story of, oh, I turned from a gang member to a Christian, but growing up in church, there's a lot of expectation on you that you will grow up and stay in church, and that's it. And for me, growing up, a lot of people who were in church, they left, and that was it. And, you know, you have that stigma attached that they backslidden, or was she going to backslide now? But you know what? Everyone can say what they want to say. At the end of the day, it's down to you and your relationship with God. So I made that decision, and I hope that this will encourage you to make that decision if you haven't already. God bless.